What's something someone said to you that crushed your confidence? After 9 years of marriage, she was a virgin when we started dating. Edited for clarity. I need to find out if sex can be better with others. I want to try a threesome with 2 guys, just not with you. And then came the real kicker. After 9 years of saying she didn't want kids, I did, but had talked myself into giving up on that to stay happy. I've decided I want kids, just not with you. Yes, all these were in one night. Sorry, I just don't see Asians as men. I had a coach that gave me an award for soccer when I was 10. The award was for being the team MVP. The coach was extremely hard to please, and he didn't like me too much. Our team had a mediocre record, with some wins, but more losses than wins. After he gives me the award, he says, "Name, you were never good. You were just less terrible than everyone else on the team. You have no career in soccer." I never played soccer again. Fuck you, Coach Steve. My mother once told me I was 5 minutes away from being an abortion and she wished she'd followed through. That was almost 20 years ago and it still messes with my confidence. My girlfriend, in the process of a breakup, asked my name. Nobody likes you. Name 3 friends that you could talk to right now about anything. I couldn't. Right in the dignity. I've always been nerdy in school, even as a young child. In the 6th grade, I was going through a lot and had some traumatic experiences occur. I became depressed and not as interested in school. However, I tried my best. One day, my teacher was comparing the intellectuals of the class and was naming all of the students who she predicts will get into good colleges. She didn't name me. This girl, who prior to this action, I disliked and thought of her as jerk, raised her hand and said, "What about him never giving guy up? She's one of the smartest kids in the whole school." My teacher looked at me and said she'll get into college, but not a good one. It seriously made me want to give up. I lost a lot of my motivation. I'm waiting. Me? Waiting for what? Your cancer to return. I was crushed and invited my friend to stay for dinner and she served pre-made green beans. My wife has said 2 things recently that absolutely crushed me. I had developed a couple of warts on my hands. She told me she wanted to have sex, but asked that I not touch her. I politely declined. A couple of weeks later she flat out told me she no longer found me attractive. That stung. That was about 4 months ago. I've since lost 35 pounds, now at a respectable 205, and the warts are gone. Now she can't keep her hands off me. The problem is, I'm not so sure I wanna have sex with her anymore. Go figure. A few years back I got on a dating site. Around that same time my hairline was starting to recede a little bit, and I was very sensitive about it. I saw this one girl's profile, liked it and decided to write her a message asking if she wanted to go on a date and have a couple of drinks. Her response consisted of only one question. "One for every hair on your head?" My confidence was absolutely crushed for a long time after that. 3 for me. In high school, a girl thought I liked her and burst into tears. After college, my GF at the time would randomly say, "What are you doing during sex?" Luckily I met a super freak and my confidence was greatly restored. A chick I know went on a blind date, basically ended it quick, and treated the guy like shit. I asked why. She responded, "He looked like you." I'm of Italian descent, and my father and his father are all hairy beasts, so naturally, in junior high, I was told I had gorilla legs, so I didn't wear shorts to school until the end of high school. In high school, I was told my eyebrows were too thick, so I started waxing them because I was so embarrassed. Then I got over it all, cause who cares? When I went to my high school counselor halfway through grade 11 and told him I was serious about getting into University of Guelph, Canada, he told me that there was no point in trying and I'd never get in. He completely brushed me off as another stupid kid wasting his time. Maybe he didn't realize, but it honestly was a soul-crushing thing to hear. I had screwed up badly with my grades the first couple of years, high school being a hell of a thing with drugs and social acceptance. I had just started to turn things around when this meeting took place. When I told my dad about this meeting, I don't think I've ever seen him so pissed off. He was definitely ready to beat the shit out of this counselor. Regardless, he sat me down and told me that I was smart enough to do anything that I wanted to do, and this guy was just a bitter high school counselor who wanted to see me fail to make himself feel better. This was a life-changing moment, and I did a complete 180 and pounded out nothing but high 90s, collecting some awards at graduation for being the top in certain courses. I got accepted to Gulf and my backup school for their chemical programs too, and I still remember how nervous I was and how much it meant to me when I got that letter in the mail. I made an appointment near the end of grade 12 with the same counselor, and maybe it was childish looking back on it, but I brought in my 2 acceptance letters, looked him in the eye, and said, last year you told me this wouldn't happen. Well, I got into both of these schools. I didn't do it because of you. I did it despite you. After 13 years in a mentally abusive relationship, I pretty much heard everything horrible. Towards the end, he had asked me to marry him, and I said yes. A few weeks later I asked him, why have you asked me to marry you after all this time? I was hoping for something along the lines of I love you. But no, I got, it's been so long, I guess I just feel like I owe it to you now. He was rad. I broke my nose 3 times before I was 2 years old. This has resulted in a somewhat odd voice. I'm very conscious of how nasal it is, and also a destroyed sense of smell. A female coworker told me once that I always smell like fesses. Bam. Self-conscious about that. Since I heard it, I already showered every day, applied deodorant religiously, wore clean clothes constantly, no sniff tests for me, etc. She just told me that my efforts had all been in vain. I don't even know what else I can do. I can't smell. I live with the specter of being a social pariah looming over me and being literally physically incapable of telling that it's there. I was told to withdraw from university because I was the worst student he ever had by a professor during office hours for asking a question about Taylor expansions. This was in front of a whole bunch of my friends and classmates. I never went to his office hours after that, and then ended up doing really poorly in the class, causing me to retake it the next year. Took a while to get back my confidence. I eventually got my degree. He's still an asshole. I'm a stay-at-home dad. Yesterday I was explaining to my 4-year-old daughter what skills are and how her mom has skills, teacher, her grandpa, mechanic, and so on. She asked me if I had any skills. I told her that I take care of all my girls, including her mom, and the whole house. She just laughs at me and says, "Daddy, that's not skills." I recently finished an art restoration project that took 5 months to complete. I presented it to the church that commissioned the restoration, and nobody said a word, not even a thank you. Here's a link to the piece. I'm on my phone, so not sure if it will work. After an argument in the court house, my father yelled across the office that I was supposed to be an abortion. He filed because he wanted to stop paying support in order to develop a relationship with me. He's always been a deadbeat dad anyway, but it still didn't feel the best. I really liked a girl once, even though we had never spoken. I considered it one time. She gave me a slightly disgusted look. "There's white stuff in your hair, you know. I have psoriasis." After explaining this, the look of disgust grew a lot stronger. There are others, but this one comes to mind. Out at a bar, newly single, a little overweight, but working on it as best I can. Me, "Can I buy you a drink?" Giggles, "What's your cup size?" I can't wait until I complete my journey of diet and exercise. Then, I can find her, take her out for the night of her life, and show her how wonderful life can be. Then dump her in the middle of nowhere and show her a picture of me now. That way she gets to see what being a shallow asshole cost her. Or yay, vengeance. Senior year of English, we all had to write stories, and then the teacher read them aloud anonymously. Mine was first. After school, at play rehearsal, my friend comes up to me and says, "Let's try to figure out who wrote the first story, because it was the worst story I've ever heard in my life." That was mine. She waited for the "just kidding." It never came. I have a friend who I respect very much, and who I really look up to. About 6 years ago, we were driving in the car one time listening to Rise Against, and we were both singing along. After Like the Angel ended, he turned to me and said, "Dude, I don't want to be a dick, but you are the most tone deaf person I have ever known." Not the most hurtful thing, but I flash back to that every time I've tried to sing since then. The person who adopted me told me on several occasions that she only took me in cause no one wanted me. She told me you're just a fat, worthless piece of lard who won't do anything with my life. I've always taken it to heart and use it as fuel to keep going. I was about 6 years old and my lazy older sister asked me to make her some instant ramen, and I said, okay, because I wanted to be nice. Well, I couldn't find them, so I ran to my mom to ask her where everything was and to double check how to make them as well. She asked me why I wanted to know. I had just finished eating myself not too long ago, so I told her, and so she yelled at me and called me a dumbass for listening to my sister and doing whatever she says. I then went to my room and cried, still feel inadequate to this day. Ex-girlfriend used to make comments about me gaining weight all of the time. Wasn't meant to be mean, and I probably needed to hear it, but one day she made one of these comments. We were having sex later that day, and she was looking back at me, but I just couldn't stay turned on. All I could think about was she probably thought I was a fat ugly piece of shit. But now I work out regularly trying to drop that weight she was always complaining about. When I was 12 I played in a local basketball league. I had this coach who was a bit of a dick, and I was the 11th player on the team. For those who don't know, 5 people play on each team at once, so 10 people make up 4 two lines. Anyway, I showed up to practice one night and the coach came over to me and handed me my gold medal for the championship my team had won the previous weekend. The motherfucker didn't call me or my parents to let us know when the game was, so I missed out on playing in the championship game. I quit the team and never played organized sports again. Fuck you, Coach Johnson, you fucking prick. When I was very young, my older sister gave my parents some really horrible years of disobedience, troublemaking, and emotional distress for being such a little biatch. I didn't follow in her footsteps, but I always heard my parents talk about how they wish they had kids they could be proud of. From then on, I did my best to try and make them proud of me. I was good at drawing and animation, and one day I had drawn a pretty good art piece in school. My art teacher told me she hadn't seen anything like it, and that my parents would be proud to hear my teacher tell them that herself. So I took the piece home with me, ready to show my parents. As soon as I came home, I had heard my dad talking to my mom, which was weird, because it was too early for him to be home. I walked up closer to the door to hear what they were talking about, and I heard both of them talking about how much they hated my sister. They also said that having kids was the biggest mistake they had ever made. Needless to say, I didn't show them my drawing. I gave up on art in total, which bewildered my teacher from then on. I actually gave up on school altogether, with my grades dropping from A's and B's to D's and F's. I didn't pursue anything I was motivated by before I heard them talk, and I haven't really had a conversation with anyone from my family past the point of hello and goodbye. I'm 24 now, and I hate my parents. And I don't mean I hate them for how they raised me. No, they raised me just fine. They gave me food, water, shelter, and offered money if I ever needed it. But I don't love them. I won't hug them. I won't talk to them, and I won't go places or do anything with them. I have adopted my girlfriend's family, and I show her and her family as much love as I can. The only thing that I resent about hating my parents is that when my GF asks me stuff about them, and I don't tell her how much I love them, she wonders if I won't be a family man. I will be a family man. I will love my kids, and I will tell them I love them every single day, no matter what.